Hello and welcome to the Popcorn Club.
Oh, that's our name now, isn't it?
Yeah, we came up with it in a cafe over a coffee where all best ideas are born. My name's LJ.
Hello, I'm Russell, I guess. Okay. I don't know the naming.
Today we're going to talk to you about the film that we saw last night, which was Frank.
Written by John Ronson, based on...
Not to be confused with Ron Swanson.
Loosely based on his time as keyboardist with... I forgot the name of the band now. Frank.
The Frank Longbottom band.
Yes. But all it seems to keep from that is this idea of a charismatic lead in a ridiculous mask.
The whole Frank Longbottom thing has passed me by as
Sidebottom. You're getting your...
Oh, have we got to redo this whole thing? Because I've been saying Longbottom the whole time and
you've gone
about
slightly
Neville
Harry
Longbottom.
Potter. Let's just leave it in. It's fine.
Okay, Sidebottom, not long, side. The whole Frank Sidebottom thing completely, obviously, passed me by.
Not Neville, though.
Not Neville.
He looks hot now.
Okay. And it's a tale of outsiders wanting to fit in their own, and how they control that insecurity in their own different ways. So you've obviously got Frank, who is on the one extreme, obviously has mental health issues, and uses the mask as a way of dealing with that and dealing with life and coping with life, and finding his place in the world. You've right to the other extreme of John, who actually doesn't have anything particularly special about him. He's obviously bored. He lives in suburbia.
I think that was his problem. Is he's completely devoid of anything, and
he's desperate to fit in and be part of something that isn't just grey suburbia.
Well, I mean, I think he was. I mean, that was he was part of something, and that was what he was part of, and he has this strong desire. In his own mind, he is a deep and tortured songwriting soul, and he will in some way find himself. I think when you talk about coming of age stories, then you would think that he might end up going from this man of suburbia who gets plucked out of, and it is
plucked from his little box,
and that's essentially, it's quite weird because that's exactly how the film plays out and almost plays on those sort of ideas when he just stumbles across the band.
Yeah, on Brighton Beach. Is it Brighton Beach?
No, they
didn't say, but it looked like.
I think it's somewhere.
It was a pebble beach somewhere.
Yeah, either way.
Grey.
But this completely absurdist idea with the keyboardist trying to drown himself.
Yeah.
And the band just watching on like they've seen it
a million
quite a few times before.
Yeah. And
then suddenly within 5 minutes he's on stage with the band, and then another 10 minutes later he's in Ireland.
And about to live there for a year with them while they record their album, and it's hugely exciting for him. It's nothing that's ever happened to him before, and he thinks this is it. This is my big chance to like prove myself. And then on the other end of the scale, you've got Maggie Gyllenhaal's character, who
is it Gyllenhaal or Gyllenhaal?
Who cares? I don't know. I've not met her. If I ever meet her, I will ask.
It's definitely not Gyllenhaal. We know that.
It's not Gyllenhaal. No, I think that's someone I work with. She's, I believe, and this is just me reading into it, has her own insecurities with herself and the world, and her way of coping with that is to be desperately, just completely judgmental and horrible, and put up this huge armor around her of not letting anyone get close to her, and just being absolutely scathing like judgment about anything that's not her. And she's terrified of the band being this mainstream, gaining any form of popularity, because that will mean that it's kind of out of her control then, and that's she's desperate to have that control around the band, and that's her way of coping, so that she hates John and everything that he stands for.
Well, as I say, she's a complete foil for his character in a way, and it's almost in a sense that why it's in some ways almost an anti-coming of age story, where none of these characters in essence changed, but they all kind of in a way accept who they are and who they were from the outset. She's really enjoyable to watch in just how vicious she is towards John, and she can see straight through him, and it's almost like, and she's right, she knows that he's just this vapid person who will never change, and he eventually becomes fine with that. And again, that's a somewhat depressing moral that the story leaves on. But throughout the film, it's sort of, she's not someone who I don't think you can kind of identify with, but I don't think you ever sort of like her. I think she'd be a terribly hideous person to be around, and I think in the same way throughout all the other characters, they don't change, they kind of accept who they are. I think it's almost slightly depressing for her to end up, she's still that same person.
Yeah.
Her unlikability works for so much of the humour throughout the film, but come the end of the film, I don't really feel like she's changed at all, which is a bit, I guess, sad for her.
She didn't like the threat that John posed to the band in terms of him bringing the outside world's attention on the band, because that meant the band might become popular and therefore likeable and go against everything that she stood for, and gaining any form of popularity. So she was absolutely just completely horrified by the whole South by Southwest experience when they go there and start to perform there. She and when the band kind of go through their whole breakup as the film plays out, she sort of takes the other two French people and defects, and they form their own weird little house band at that pool hall in
so no more weird than the original band are,
but what you see in that, when they're playing as their own little threesome, she's heartbroken. She's absolutely like, they've got none of their creativity, they're just doing old standards in a weird style, none of their spark or creativity there, and the way she's singing is just like a woman who's had her heart broken, essentially. And it's not until that final scene, or one of the final scenes, well, I know it's the final scene, isn't it, where Frank comes back with, John's found him at his parents' house, his mask's off, manages to get him to come down to the pool hall to see them, and they do that final performance of their best song, arguably, in the whole film. I Love You More. And she's for the about 60% of that performance, she's just staring at him like, almost, is she going to forgive him? Is she not? Like, where's this going to go? And then she flicks and makes the decision to get into it and turns on her theremin and gets into it, and that's her. She knows that that's her place. She knows that's where she's happy.
Because I think, like, despite with all the whatever faults I think there are, or maybe with her character, I think there's no denying that I think the end of the film is really emotional.
I love that last scene,
and especially that the whole film, it went in a direction that I didn't think it started off, especially with the way that John gets picked up by the band, and it's very quirky and funny and silly, and it's kind of starting, especially throughout the first hour of the film, it's starting to touch on all these various issues and quirks and idiosyncrasies and neuroses that the band and characters have. And then I think, and it is pretty much the point when the manager, he decides to put on the Frank mask and hang himself. I think the film, it becomes,
takes a turn.
It becomes much darker, and it changes, but in a way that I think stays true to the quirkiness of the film. The last 45 minutes of the film, when they are off to South by Southwest and where the band end up, as I say, it went to a much deeper and more emotional place than I thought the film was ever going to get to.
And I think it's testament to all of the cast that they managed to pull that off convincingly, because I think it could have easily, particularly Michael Fassbender, because I just think he could easily, that character could have become just a caricature and, a ridiculous character of a man with a ridiculous pretend head on. He managed to bring to the role this huge depth of backstory to the character, that this, really tragic, really hilariously funny film and story, but really, really sad and bittersweet ending to it.
Well, I think it carries so much humour and obviously manages to project the charisma through the mask to embolden these people to join him on his journey. And then, as I say, as you get deeper into the film and deeper into all the characters, it becomes really heartfelt. But almost it's believable. It's a very grounded and believable film for
a film about a man with a giant
for a central
face.
character who wears a stupid, ridiculous giant mask and never takes it off, even when showering.
I love that where he thinks, "Oh my god, he's got the head off. It's in this box. I'm gonna see him," and then he's got the plastic bag.
Well, and then they did that twice. They did that twice in the film. And the first time it was hilarious when he was in the shower, and the second time it was horrible.
Yeah, the second time it was really sad because it wasn't him; it was the other guy who hung himself.
Yeah, it was sad either way because someone had strung themselves up.
But yeah, no, I loved. The culmination of all of that was that final scene, and it really paid off. It really was just the perfect ending because it was kind of they'd all one by one started to make peace with themselves and their place in the world. Frank, his mask's off, he's back with his bandmates again. They're singing, a really cool song. Maggie's back. With a theremin, forgiven for forgotten sort of thing. They know they've got the band back together, and John wanders off having, put right what he went wrong, but having understood more about himself in the process. And it was just lovely. Can we come on to the music? I don't know who the composer on the film was that was composing all of the songs that the band do, but it's really straddling that line between this is, some of the most genius music that's ever been written, and this is incredible shit.
I think, that mirrors...
So, and what that got me thinking, and what the film sort of touches a little bit on, is actually who decides what's cool and what's not. Nobody wanting to be the one to call bullshit. Do you know what I mean? And I think
the film kind of does tend to call bullshit on them throughout a lot of it, but it does it in a way where we're kind of... It's fine and fun to laugh at when they're just fucking around in the forest with recording all the sounds,
toothbrushes,
and all nonsense. Yeah, I mean, it's absurd and it's ridiculous, but it's very funny and humorous, and to watch them stumble through and spend 11 months getting to a place where they're finally ready to record something, or they think that it's genius.
And I also enjoy the bit where they sort of try and become more mainstream and more popular. John's trying to push them in that way, and Frank gets really excited about recording his most likeable song, and it's just this hideous techno.
I love the moment when he's just the bit where they're finally on stage, and he gets on stage, and there's the section just before they go on stage, and he transforms into some sort of transvestite.
He goes to do his ablutions,
which is hilarious.
Next time you say you're going to do your ablutions, I'll expect you to step out looking like that.
I might just do that. I will not. But when within 10 seconds of being on stage, she's collapsing this is shit.
The music is shit. Whereas, as the audience, you've been thinking, yes, it has been all along. But yeah, no, there are moments of, where you think there is something there. And whoever composed the music, it can go either way at any point, and it's very, very clever that way.
But that was, again, the internal dynamics within the film, where Maggie was always pushing them to the more surrealist edges, and all that was what they say in the film, to go to the very corner.
Yeah, it goes to the very corners, and then John's like, "Can we not, move the corners and then get their corners, and then we'll all be in the same, and we'll still be far away."
But you're kind of all together in essentially some sort of sphere with no corners.
There's
no edge.
Yeah, it's just very, very well. What's the word?
Don't know.
Very well observed. So I say, given that this is the Popcorn Club, so a bit of a book club but for films.
We should just be eating popcorn throughout the whole thing.
I wish. No. So how at every end of every film, we will individually give the films a rating out of 10 popcorns. I'm going to give this 9 popcorns. I thought it was very good.
Yeah, I think I was going to veer
It's one of the better films we've seen this year. Yeah. Or I've seen this year. Don't want to put words in your mouth.
No. How? I completely agree. I think it was very good, and I would give it 8.5, if not 9 popcorns also. I
Half
think.
a popcorn.
But I think, and I don't know how
Who
much
eats
that is.
half a popcorn? I hope you enjoyed our little discussion about the film. Let us know what you thought if you've seen it. If you haven't seen it and you've watched this review, well, that was a bit silly because there were spoilers. As long as you're cool with that, then, I mean, that's your choice. You're an adult. But yeah, let us know what you thought. And
there is no rating system.
Yeah, if you want it, you can give it a popcorn rating if you want. We'll be back next week with whatever film we see then for more discussion.
I hope it's Godzilla.
You hope it's Godzilla? Oh, well, we'll have to talk about that. All right. Bye. See you next time.